So even though the military was paying for me to go to school, I still had to meet all my military requirements. For example, still had to pass my PT test every year, still had to maintain my height and weight. And then if you failed a drug test or if you got flagged for anything, they would stop your educational benefits. So like I would literally leave, go straight to drill. Monday morning, I'm just up taking the test.
See, the thing is, whenever people envision what the military is like, they're thinking if I join the military, I'm gonna be at war. They're gonna fly me out to another
And
country.
that's the thing. People say, do I have to go to war? Our country's not even at war right now.
Mhm,
Who we gonna go to war with? You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? But do you have to deploy? Yes. And part of
mhm.
that is because we have bases outside of the country.
What is up, guys? Jason here. Welcome back to the channel and our series Nurses to Riches, The Road to Fire. I've been posting these podcast videos on YouTube since 2022, and since launching this podcast, I've been asked more times than I could count to interview an Army nurse. Well, your wishes have been granted because in this episode, I'll be interviewing a nurse who found a way to get her nursing license with the least amount of out-of-pocket costs by using the Army to her advantage. And she's going to show us exactly how she did it. So, Deja, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you currently do for a living.
My name is Deja. So I always knew growing up that I wanted to be a nurse. But I think where it really started was my younger sister. She has really bad asthma. She's had severe asthma for as long as I could remember. And every single year when the weather changed around the fall, she was hospitalized. So every year around like September, which was her birthday, we always had to take her to the hospital. And then at the school, she was best friends with the nurses because she used to have to take her breathing treatments at school. So that was my first introduction to nursing because most of my family are all educators. So just staying in the hospital with her kind of exposed me to nursing. So that's how I got into it.
I see. And where did you grow up? What state?
So I'm from Louisiana, New
I
Rose,
see.
Louisiana, small
Yeah.
town. We have 4 red lights. But I live in Dallas, Texas now. But I was born and raised in Louisiana.
So you only had one sibling growing up? It was just your sister?
No, so I actually have 2 older brothers, then it's me, and then I have an older sister. So I have 4 siblings.
I see. But were you the first one to go into nursing?
Yes.
Wow,
Yep.
that's pretty cool. Did you know anybody else who was a nurse at the time?
Most of my families, they're all educators. Like my mom, she was a teacher. Now she's a principal of an elementary school. So nobody was nurses.
So, what was your goal when you first started working as a nurse? Where did you want to work? What type of specialty?
Honestly, I didn't know. I
Wow.
really didn't know. I knew I wanted to be a nurse, but as far as what specialty, I didn't really look into it. But what I did do was I actually joined the military to have them pay for my nursing school. That was just, I just knew I wanted to be a nurse. That's
Yeah.
it.
So I know you joined the military, but you know what? I've never actually interviewed a nurse who has been in the military. And I've been asked so many times before to reach out to nurses. There's this one nurse who had 20 something thousand subscribers on YouTube. And I reached out to him when I also had about 20,000 subscribers. And I asked him if he would let me interview him because I just found it really interesting since we don't know too many people who do nursing and the military or the army. But he reached out to me and he said, I'm busy right now, but I'll get back to you. And eventually maybe we can set something up. But he never got back to me. So I'm so glad I have you on the show because I want to know, what is it like working in the military as a nurse?
When I first got into the military, I wasn't a nurse.
Yeah.
I actually enlisted in the military when I was 18 years old. And so I was a seaburn soldier, which if you don't know what that is, basically I was a hazmat specialist. So you see the guys who would go in for chemical spills with the oxygen tanks and the gas masks and stuff. That was my job. That's what I did the first 6 years when I was in the military. So pretty much I was like, okay, I know I wanted the military to pay for nursing school. So I just picked the job. I just picked the quickest, fastest job I could. Because actually, I was already in the process of enrolling in college when I joined. So I was like, I need something quick. So I went to college my first semester, and then that following semester, I did my basic and my AIT so I can get back in college. So that's what I did, the CBurn stuff, my first 6 years. And then after I graduated from nursing school, I started working. And then some higher up commanders were like, Cobb, why don't you direct commission? And I'm like, what's direct commission? I didn't know what it was. But
Yeah.
essentially, it was a process for me to become from an enlisted soldier to an officer. So once I went through that process, I was able to commission into a nurse officer. And what I do now as a nurse officer in the military is so easy. I actually do case management for the
Oh,
military. So I go to drill
wow.
a week in a month and 2 weeks out the summer. But on my weekends for drill, every single month we have something called a periodic health assessment where
Mhm.
the soldiers come in, get their eyes checked, their vision, their hearing. We update their lab work. And my job is just to sit them down and kind of do a medical review and say, okay, do you have any new injuries? Are you on profile? Are you taking any medications? And basically, we just track it. So that way, if they came back from deployment or they're going to deployment, we can track their medical history and make sure that they're being treated and they have proper profiles. So
Mm.
that's what I do now in the military.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. And how long did it take you to go through nursing school? And was the nursing school through the military, or was that like okay?
No, it was separate.
Mhm,
So I did a bachelor's degree program, four
mhm.
years, but in combination with going to nursing school, 1 week in a month, I had to go to drill.
Wow.
So I didn't go to a military specific school. I just went to a regular public university. But the reason why I was trying to go to basic and AIT so quick is because I wanted to get my benefits and have the military pay for my school. So my first semester of college, I had scholarships from high school. So I knew my first semester was going to be good.
Yeah.
So that spring semester, I set out my whole spring semester college so I could do basic and AIT. And then when I got back in that fall, the military started paying for my tuition. So
Mhm.
then that second semester I came back, I finished all my prereqs, and then by my third semester I was enrolled in nursing school. So I was pretty
Oh,
much tunnel vision. I was not playing. I knew I wanted to be a nurse, but I had a lot of siblings. And I mean, like I said, my mom was a teacher. She did what she could, but unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of extra money. So I
mhm.
just knew. And what's crazy is my two older brothers actually went to the military before me. Yeah. So they had went to the Army National Guard before me. And so they were like, Deja, they'll pay for your college. They'll do this. They'll pay you for drill. And all you got to do is go to drill 1 week in a month and 2 weeks out the summer. And I was like, if that's all I got to do, that's not bad. I was like, you sure? Like, that's it? So after that, it was it. Me joining the military was never like a goal of mine. It was just an impulse decision. And what's crazy is I outranked my brothers, and they're no longer even in the military. They're not in the military anymore. I'm the only one that's still in the military.
Wow. And how did your mom feel about you joining the military?
My brother kind of
Mm.
already broke the ice.
Oh,
Now, when my first brother wanted to go, my mama like had her concerns or whatever like that. But by the time I got there, she ain't had no say so. I was just doing it, and that was it.
she was like, "See ya."
Yeah, and what's crazy is that we were all in different states, different
Mm.
basic and AITs, and she came to all of our graduations.
Oh, wow.
hmm
So while you were going to nursing school, were you living with your mom or were you living somewhere else?
So I was living on campus. I actually went to college 3 hours away from home.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually only applied to one university because
Uh-huh.
I knew that was the best school in the state, in my opinion. So I didn't
Yeah.
apply anywhere else because I didn't want my mama to talk me out of it and go somewhere closer to home. Like, I
Mm.
didn't want that. And that's
Yeah.
another reason why I did go to the military is because I didn't want to have to stay closer to home and.
Oh,
So the military gave me that independence and that financial freedom to pursue the school that I wanted to and be actually to live on my own. But I did stay on campus. But had I not would have joined the military, I probably would have went to like a smaller university closer to home.
okay. I
Mm.
get it. And how difficult was the process of getting the military to pay for your college tuition? Or how easy was it? Did you have to fill out a lot of paperwork or did they just say, okay, you apply for a school and we'll give you the money? What was the process?
So actually, like once I got back from basic and AIT, it was pretty much done. After that,
Wow.
it was just a matter of when I went to my university, just getting in contact with the VA person. Like every university has a Veterans Affair. So basically, I just spoke with them, made sure my name was on the list because they all have us in the system. So
Mm.
every single semester, I would have to give them like my classes because they had to make sure that like we were maintaining our GPA and we had
Mm,
to meet a certain requirement of complete versus incomplete classes to still get your schooling paid for.
mm,
So I mean, it wasn't that bad.
mm,
Maybe once a semester I had to just talk to the VA, make sure
mm,
everything was up to par, and then that was it. And then we also got something called a GI Bill,
mm.
where it was like an extra stipend that we would get, and I just used to have to call them every single month, and it was just like verifying that I'm still in good standing with the
Mm,
university and with the military. Another thing with that is that we had to make sure we weren't flagged. So even though the military was paying for me to go to school, I still had to meet all my military requirements. For example, still had to pass my PT test every year, still had to maintain my height and weight. And then if you failed a drug test or if you got flagged for anything, they would stop your educational benefits. Let's
yeah.
say this year I don't pass my PT test,
Mm.
then next fall they're not paying for my school. But you
Oh,
can always retake it. And like that's
mhm.
what a lot of soldiers would do. Come like the summer, they trying to hurry up and get in shape to pass their PT test. And if you don't and you flag, they not paying for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't know all that. That's
kinda make
crazy.
me stay in shape too.
Yeah.
Where some people might be like, nah, that's too much. But for me, it was like, well, I need to stay in shape anyway.
That's true. That's very true. So is there a limit to how much they are willing to pay?
So it just has to be a public university, but some it kind of depends. So in Louisiana, we got something called tuition exemption, which
Mm.
means when I enrolled in school and I checked my banner, it was completely waived.
Oh,
Where some states they do tuition assistance, which means they only cover a certain percentage, but they didn't cover fees or room and board, just straight tuition.
I see. And I'm guessing one of those states that only covers a certain percentage is probably California because the tuition expenses are so high in the state.
Probably so.
Yeah. How long did it take from the moment you started your nursing program to the moment you finished and graduated?
My nursing program was 5 semesters,
Oh,
and a
wow.
half years, and I did not
Yeah.
fail a semester at all.
Wow.
And it was so crazy because I looked at my classmates and I'm like, y'all don't have no jobs, y'all don't have no responsibilities, and y'all failing classes. But I guess for me, I didn't have a choice. If
Mm,
I failed a class, then that could affect the military paying for my school. I didn't
that's
have
true.
mama to help pay if something happens, you know? And then
Yeah.
my little sister, she was right behind me. We were both in college at the same time. So I just thought that was crazy. Like
Yeah.
when we started our semester, we had about 100 people. Only 30 people graduated. And within that 30, only about half of them were a part of the original class. So I was just like, man, that's crazy. But I just had tunnel vision. Like I was not
Yeah.
playing. Like there was some times where I would go to drill Saturday, Sunday, and have a test Monday morning. So
Wow.
like I would literally leave, go straight to drill Monday morning. I'm just up taking the test. And
Yeah.
I was very fortunate because my command, they knew what I was trying to do. Like they knew what
Mm,
I was trying to accomplish. So like a lot of times I would be studying that drill. I would just say, what y'all need me to do this weekend? And then as soon as I get some free time, I'm in the classroom trying to look at some notes.
And what kind of things do you guys actually do in your drills?
I kind of already explained to you what I did as an officer, but when I
Mhm.
was an enlisted soldier, anything could be
Oh,
from cut the grass to pretty much we have a motor pool full of our military vehicles, and we would have to make sure like the oils change, batteries not dead, do the tires have air, are they not flat?
mm,
Or some drill weekends we would actually go to the field, we'll go to the gun range, or we'll just have field op training where they would like have stimulations of operations that we would have to do and
mm,
we would be staying in the field. And when
I
we
see.
stay in the field, sometimes there were no porta potties or
Wow.
we had these little 1 person tents that we would sleep in. So we were
Yeah.
struggling. Like we were out there in the field eating our MREs, no hot meals. But then when I came over to the officer side, and I'm like, oh, y'all don't do nothing. Like, it's easy. And I'm like, I could do 20 years of this. 20 years of this, I can do this. And what's crazy is I was actually going to get out of the military because I signed a 6-year contract. And I was an E5 sergeant at that time, Seaburn. And even though like it was cool, but my MOS, my job, I didn't enjoy it. And we had a lot of new soldiers that were coming into the military. And I'm like, I don't want to have to train y'all because that love that I had was no longer there. So I was going to get out because I didn't want to be that sergeant who just hated their job or just being mean to people for no reason. So I was going to get out. But then I
Mm.
got introduced to direct commissioning. So about my last year, I started the process of direct commissioning. And then I was supposed to get out July 2021. I commissioned June 2021. So that's why I'm still in the Army now. So
Wow. So what is an E5? You said General Sergeant? Is
okay.
that what you,
So
okay.
E5 is just a sergeant. I was
Okay.
your first sergeant. So you have E5 sergeant, staff sergeant, master sergeant, and it
Mhm.
just kind of goes up. But I was like the lowest level sergeant. So I
I
was
see.
responsible for other soldiers. So when I was a private or a specialist, I didn't have to tell nobody what to do. But once I became a sergeant, my platoon leader was like, okay, Kyle, you got these people, and if they messing up, I'm coming to you. So I actually had to
Wow.
discipline adults.
Wow.
Like, where you at? What you
Yeah.
doing? Ain't you supposed to be over here? And it's literally like, why am I babysitting adults? You know? And it's things
Yeah.
you shouldn't have to tell people to do.
Yeah.
For example, we're in the field. Where's your weapon, soldier? Where's your weapon? Why don't you have your weapon? So now I'm responsible to make sure you have your weapon. It's the right
Mm.
serial number. Because if not, now they looking at me like, "Hi, where is that?" So it's like, don't
Yeah.
make me have to do this. Don't make me have to do this.
All right. So, did you at any point ever think that you could be deployed in the military while you were in nursing school?
So actually, my unit did deploy.
Oh.
And I was still was I wasn't in nursing school at that time. I had finished nursing school. And I think honestly that was my biggest concern. Like, if
Mm.
I have to deploy, I just don't want to deploy in the middle of nursing school. Even technically, if it happened, I would deploy and then my university would have to let me come back where I stopped at. Like they physically have to. But
Yeah.
I just didn't want to have that gap.
Mm.
But I had already graduated at that time and my unit did deploy. But what
Mm.
happened was, even though my unit deployed, they only needed certain MOSs. So, like, yes, we were called to deploy, but only certain people were needed for the mission. And I wasn't needed for that mission. So, half the unit deployed, and then the other half, we called them the rear deck, and they stayed back to still maintain the unit. And a lot of people think, oh, because you're in the National Guard or in the reserve, you don't deploy, but that's not true. We can deploy, but it's just a little different than active duty because we may only deploy on rotation. So we may only deploy every 6 years, every 8 years. And what's crazy is there have been people who I've been in the military longer than me, but have never deployed. And then some
Mm.
people deploy more frequently.
Mm.
But it also depends on your unit too. So my unit was what you would call a headquarters unit. So we have a lot of different MOSs. So it's hard to deploy a unit who has a lot of MOSs. If your MOS where all of y'all are mechanics, or all of y'all are infantry, or all of y'all are engineers, then we need this whole skill set. To deploy my unit was a little bit harder because we all do different things. So
I
we
see.
only need a few of y'all. And actually, the unit that I'm in right now is non-deployable.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason why it is because my unit is in charge of making sure the state of Louisiana is ready to deploy.
Oh.
So we're making sure you're medically ready to deploy.
Wow.
Now, I do want to deploy at some point, like I do. And part of it is because, I want a cool combat badge. But so for me, I would have to volunteer on a
Oh.
deployment, but my unit doesn't deploy.
Yeah. And for everybody who's watching, what does MOS stand for?
Oh,
Yeah.
basically, that is your military job. That's your
Oh,
military occupation specialty. So that's your
I see.
job, whether you're a cook, military police officer, supply, human resources, like
Mm.
every job in the military, like every job in the real world, we pretty much have them in the military, but they just have the different number in phonetic alphabet names. So
I
yeah,
see.
that's just your military job.
So, when you made that move from Louisiana to Texas, how did that work with the military?
Okay, so I could have done something where I transfer my unit. The unit that I'm at in Louisiana, I actually love it there. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna leave. So I
Yeah.
stayed. And from where I live in Texas, it's only about a 4.5 hour drive. Really not that bad. And I have a really good command. I'll drive to Louisiana on Friday evening, and we have something called billeting, which is military housing. So I stay at the military housing the weekend of drill. So I drive down there Friday, go to drill Saturday, and then Sunday because I live out of town, they let me leave early. So like by 12, 1 o'clock, I'm back on the road. So by
Mm.
Sunday, I'm back in Texas before the end of the day. And so
Wow,
essentially I just do a day and a half of drill.
that's
I
crazy.
mean, it's not bad, and
Yeah.
it's just like, I'll stay here. Like, I
Yeah.
could go to a unit closer to home, but it's not bad, and I have family in Louisiana, so it gives me a
Mm.
reason to visit and see them.
See, the thing is, whenever people envision what the military is like, it's like they're thinking, okay, if I join the military, I'm gonna be at war. Like the whole time, they're gonna fly me out to another
And
country.
that's the thing, people say, "Do I have to go to war?" Our
Mhm,
country's not even at war right now.
mhm,
Who we gonna go to war with? You know what I'm
mm,
saying? But do you have to deploy? Yes, and part of
mm.
that is because we have bases outside of the country.
I see.
And like in Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, we have
Yeah.
bases and people have to operate them. Now,
Mm,
for the most part, active duty are there, but they need a break. They can only
yeah.
deploy for so long at a time. So then that's when
Mm,
they call the reserve and the National Guard to give them a break. Part of the like some of the conflict comes in is because those countries are at war among themselves. So we
yeah.
may be providing logistical support or security or just helping them in a sense. And so we get caught in their conflict. And
Yeah.
then they do sometimes there's mortars and like those type of things. So you are definitely at risk when you're in those combat zones. But that's honestly just a part of it, honestly.
Have you ever had any colleagues in the military who have been caught a gunshot battle or like type of war zone situation?
No,
Okay, well, that's good to hear.
but I have two uncles who were in the military, but I didn't even consult them before I
Mm,
joined. And one of my uncles, he deployed a few times to like Iraq and Afghanistan, and he had some PTSD. I'm not quite
oh,
sure exactly what he saw, but he was in one of those infantry MOSs as well. Not to say that a cook can't deploy in those combat zones because you still need cooks everywhere.
yeah.
But depending on your MOS, it makes you more likely to be in some of those combat zones. So, like as a
Mm,
nurse, if I were to get deployed, I wouldn't be frontline, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? But I would still see those soldiers who come in pretty wounded, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And then just being in the environment, anything can happen. We may just be on a convoy and get hit with an IED. Those type of things do happen.
So, walk me through how you were able to support yourself financially through all of this because I don't know how much you were earning. So, explain to me what the pay structure looks like up until you became a nurse. And then once you became a nurse, how much you were earning.
Okay, so I was already living on campus. I had my tuition waived, and then I still had financial aid. For the most part, I was covered.
Yeah.
And so, as a lower enlisted soldier, my drill check might have only been
Mhm.
$230. And then I had my GI Bill, and that was like another $300. So you're
Mm,
talking about college student, I'm bringing in $500 a month. As a college student, I already have housing and my meals paid
mhm.
for. That was actually enough for me to
Yeah.
sustain. And then eventually, I bought a car.
Mm.
So between those two things, that paid for my car note and my car insurance. And my mom was still paying my cell phone at that.
Oh, nice.
I couldn't. So
Yeah.
I was able to do that. And then after my first semester of nursing school, our university was like, if you fill out this paperwork and go to this class, you'll be CNA certified. So then I
Oh.
became a CNA. So by my second semester in nursing school, I was working as a CNA on top of that. Between that and my
Mm,
CNA check, I was able to live comfortably. And then I
mm,
got a credit card. And that credit card was like my fun money because I'm like, all my friends having fun. And, this is what I did. Probably not the best, but I will literally look at, okay, I'll pay this with my credit card and save my money to pay the minimum balance. So when I was in college, I was only paying the minimum balances on my credit card. And I remember my limit had got up to maybe, I think my limit was like 2,000 and I had got to 1,500 and then they increased it. And I said, oh, that's how they get you. Right when you get to the max, they increase so you can spend more money. And, oh, no, you're not about to get me. So I still kept myself at that 2,000. And then I
mm.
told myself, I said, when I graduate, when I get my big girl job, I'm paying this credit card off. And now looking at it, $2,000, it's not a lot. But back then, I thought that was a lot of money. So that was like the first thing I did when I got my big job.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from because when I was in college, I remember before I even became a nurse, I was getting, you know how like when you apply for like these grants from the government
Hmm.
and financial aid,
Hmm.
I think I was getting maybe like 500 to $1,000 left every or checks in the mail for like $500 to like 1,000, sometimes even 1,500
Hmm.
depending on the semester. And I was like, man, this is a lot of money. And I had a job at the time. I was not making much, but I had a job that was also supplementing that. And I was like, wow, this is a lot of money. And I have a credit card now. And if I have this income, plus I have my credit card balance, that's like two times what
Hmm.
I can
Hmm.
currently able to save. So I ended up putting myself in so much debt. And at the time, I'm thinking there's a lot of debt. Right now, that's nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like my weekly balance, right? But it was like 2,500 something dollars worth of debt because I had purchased the television. And I remember it took me like 3 or 4 years just to pay that off.
Mm,
And my credit score was like 518 at its lowest. So as soon as I realized that my credit score and my credit history was being damaged by
mm,
me continuing to roll over a balance and having
yeah,
maxed out my balance, I was like, you know what? I need to just stop doing this and I need to stop using my credit card as much as I
mm,
currently am. And that's what happened. Like I paid that credit card off and I stopped using my credit cards as much as I was using it at the
yeah,
time. But okay, so then did you get your nursing job immediately after graduating nursing school or
yeah.
how long after? Okay.
So my university was very big on like y'all gonna get a job before y'all graduate. They actually helped us with our resumes. Like they were really proactive. And they even helped us like with the NCLEX, like signing up for the state board and all of that.
Wow.
But I honestly wanted to move to Texas right after graduation. I wanted to move straight to Texas. At 18, I joined the military. I was away from home. Then I went to college 3 hours away from home. Like I wasn't homesick. Like I enjoyed where I was from, but like I just feel like at the time I had outgrew Louisiana and I wanted to see more. So I wanted to move to Texas. Like originally I applied for a Texas nursing license. I didn't even do Louisiana. But then nobody in Texas called me back. And I think a lot of it was Texas was just like they wanted their new grads. So I was like,
Mm,
I was kind of sad. And then everybody in my it was I graduated in December. By October, everybody already had jobs lined up. So I think that pressure was like, man, let me get a job. So I was like, let me apply to some jobs in Louisiana. I got
mm,
called back the next day. Okay. So I did a year in Louisiana. I did a year staff in Louisiana.
mm.
And then after a year, I started travel nursing to Texas.
Wow.
Mm.
And why did you decide to get into travel nursing out of all things?
I wanted to get out of Louisiana. And
Mm,
I wanted to get out of Louisiana. And then I knew about travel nursing. So originally I was like, I'll just travel nurse and try out all the different hospitals in Texas and then decide which hospital I want to stay at.
mm,
But I probably worked at 5 different hospitals out here in
mm.
Texas. But now I'm working PRN at a hospital out here. But that's why I got into travel nursing originally.
See, and I think a lot of the times the good thing about being a travel nurse is that you get to see what the different facilities are like, and then you find the one that really fits the type of place you want to work in, and then you can just say, you know what, I want to settle in this location. Is that what happened with you?
So I did a few travel assignments in Texas. Then I did one in
Mhm,
Wisconsin. And then after my Wisconsin one, then I just sick of the travel nursing,
mhm.
like all of the back and forth and the crazy hours. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't want to work that hard anymore. So then that's when I started looking for a PRN job. Even
See.
when I was looking for a PRN job, I applied to multiple hospitals. I was working at one, then I found a better one and left that one and went to that one. My resume, I hate applying for a new job because I got to put in all these hospitals.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that I love the fact that I'm in the military because the military is my longest job. This September literally made a year since I've been at a hospital a year or more.
Wow.
Yeah, like I stayed at my staff job a year, and then this past September made a year of me at my PRN job. So like a year
See.
and a few months. But other than that, I was somewhere else.
So once you took this PRN position, oh, also, what specialty are you working in?
Med surge.
Okay, and once you decided to take on this PRN job, was there a goal in mind? Because jobs, unless you're working a lot of hours, you don't have benefits, right? And you're not making a lot of money unless you're working a lot of hours. So, what was the goal for you to take this PRN position?
So for me, I was at the point personally where having to go to work 36 hours a week, I was no longer enjoying it. So me
Mm.
going PRN was more to take a break and just enjoy my life, because from the minute I graduated high school, I was like, I'm going to the military. So went to the military, went to nursing school. A year after that, I started traveling. So like I had always just been on the move. And so
Yeah.
for me, I grew up, I was very creative. And then now here I am, and like I got no hobbies. I don't know what I like to do. I don't know who I am. So
Mm.
really me going PRN was just to take a step back. Like I hadn't made the money traveling. Like I didn't
Mm.
save the money. So it's like I don't have to work that hard. I don't have any kids. It's just me. So it's like I don't need to work 40 hours a week to sustain my living. And then
Mm.
with the military, I have benefits through the military. So my health insurance is through the military, and I have life insurance outside of the military. So I don't need a job for your benefits. And then with the job that I'm working, because I don't have benefits, my hourly rate is actually higher. So
Oh,
I could really afford my life comfortably working 2 days a week. So
wow.
typically, I work 2, 3 days a week. And sometimes, if I want to work 1 day a week, I want to work 1 day a week. And so for me, I base my work around my life. Instead of having to base my life around my work, I don't do that. Like, I don't. Like, I look at my schedule and say, okay, I want to work this day. That day don't work for me. So, however many hours I work that week is literally just based on my life. I'm single, no kids right now. So if I have to work 36 hours right now to sustain my life, what's going to happen when I have a kid? I'm going to have to work 40, 48. I
Yeah.
might know. So in the
Mm.
mix of going PRN, I sat back, reevaluated, and I started investing in myself
Mm.
because I had already saved the money. So for me, I was like, I'm young now. So if there's anything that I want to do, this is time to do it. I invested in mentorship. I got
Mm.
a community. I got my life insurance license. I had just started doing things to try to better myself and to get me a way out of nursing, because nursing is cool. I love it. I enjoy it. But I always told my mama, nursing is my plan B, not my plan A. I don't know what my plan A is. I'm still trying to figure it out right now. But I just knew that I'm not doing this forever. And my first travel assignment, I was on a rehab unit and I had 6 patients. And even though I had 6 patients, it wasn't bad because these patients are rehab, no IVs,
Yeah.
nothing. And I was literally bored out of my mind. But all of the nurses there were 50 plus. And I said,
Mm.
oh no, I'm not doing this. I don't want to be a nurse that long. So like my first travel assignment showed me I'm not doing this forever. Like y'all got a limp, your back hurting, and I say, oh no. So for me, I knew like by at least by 35, if not sooner, I cannot be bedside. I cannot. So for
Mm.
me, going PRN was to figure out, okay, Deja, what you really want to do? Cause you've been running the rat race. Time to get out of that. So pretty much for me, the military was a tool to get me through nursing school. Now nursing is a tool to get me to a lifestyle that I truly desire, whatever that may be. So yeah.
And what kind of mentorships did you invest in, and why did you decide on the mentorship that you did?
Well, before I got into mentorship, I got in a community. I got
Mhm.
into Lois's community. And just through her community, I was just able to learn that there are so many different incomes and like there's so many different ways to make money that it's like I don't have to do this. And it's not that I don't enjoy nursing. I just don't want to have to. Saying like it's different when you gotta work 36 hours a week. And when I went PRN, I
Mm.
enjoyed it more. Like I actually enjoyed
Mm.
going to work. But just through her community, I was able to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who were striving for the same thing. Like they don't hate nursing, but there's
Mhm.
more to life than just waking up and going to work every day. So
Yeah.
I kind of noticed a mindset shift for me wanting more, thriving more, and experiencing more. So then when she offered her mentorship, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And since then, the level of execution that I have been doing for myself is literally surprising me. You're a nurse, so you already know what to do. Then
Yeah.
military, they tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And now when it comes to my life, what do I want to do in my life? Then it's like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So like through
Yeah.
community and that mentorship, now I'm able to tap in, okay, so what does Deja want? Deja want to travel to 30 countries before 30. Deja trying to be on work at the beach. That's what Deja trying to do. So it's just to have people who believe in you and your
Mhm.
dream. different because I'm from a small town in Louisiana. So some of the
Mm,
things I say, they can't relate. And it's no shade to them, but they don't know. So in
yeah.
order to do more or get more, I had to be in a bigger room. So being in those virtual rooms helped me do that.
And what kind of people are you communicating with and networking with in these rooms?
So most of them are nurses, and then she would bring on like special guests, people who are in industries like Airbnb, life insurance, entrepreneurs. And the thing about it that like I'm starting to realize is that it's not really so much about what you do, it's more so about like how you do it and you actually believing in yourself that you can do it. You could be a millionaire for selling t-shirts if you believe you got the best t-shirts. So it's to just have that belief in myself that whatever I dream, I could really make it my reality. Versus if I go to some of my friends, they used to be like, that's a good idea. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? But to speak your dreams to someone and they light up and it turns into something else, that's
yeah,
powerful. That's powerful.
I agree. And can you tell us how much you spent on the community and how much you spent on the mentorship program?
So I think originally I might have spent maybe $500 for the community when I first got in. And then her mentorship, it was $10,000. And I haven't really shared their price with a lot of people just because they'll be like, what? Like, why?
Yeah. I listen, I know where you're coming from because we paid a mentor $6,800. Me and my wife, we were interested in starting an online store. It was like an online children's clothing store.
Okay.
But I don't know if you know him. His name is Justin Phillips. And what he did was he started a brand called Support Black Colleges, where he was selling t shirts and hoodies and anything you could possibly think of that you could wear. But he sold the company for like $10 million
Oh, wow.
and yeah, in like a few years, and he was running most of it by himself. So now he created a mentorship program where he teaches other people how to do that. And he's been giving me so many ideas that I would have never really thought about.
Exactly.
And when you've had a vast amount of experience, when you've exposed to self to so many people in many different areas of entrepreneurship, their ideas start to bounce off of you, and then you begin to absorb those ideas.
Mhm.
So then that you become that person,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Now that he's given me all of these ideas, I'm like, I could have thought of that, but I didn't really think of it
Exactly.
until he told me.
Yeah. So it's almost like what you needed is already inside you. You
Yeah.
don't have to go figure it out. And that's what I was trying to do. So like before I got into mentorship, I was like, I'm gonna do
Mm,
tour role, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And
yeah.
then like talking to Lois, I just realized what I needed was already inside of me.
Mm,
So I created a brand called the Army RN, and
yeah.
pretty much what it is just it's who I am. But then
Mm,
at the same time, there's so many people who are interested in doing the same thing. And I didn't realize how
yeah.
many people it was or how many people didn't know. But
Mm,
then when I think about it, I was in the military 6 years and didn't know how to direct commission. It's not that it's a kept secret, but you don't know what you don't know. And there's no community for Army nurses. If I saw it, I probably would have been in it. And it's crazy because Lois had been calling me the Army nurse probably even before I joined the mentorship. But just the energy and what she saw for me was like, oh man, like I really can do that. You know what I'm saying? And because when you grow up in a certain area, like you don't see those things. And so you don't think to just, oh, I can do that. So it really takes someone else experience who is already doing the things to like, you know what, I could do the exact same thing. So I actually just recorded a course. The course
wow.
is called Army Nurse Academy, and essentially it's going over step by step what you need to know before you join the military. And then I go into the specifics of the nursing part of it. And that's what I wish I had. You know what I'm saying? That's what like mentorship has done for me. Despite like how much I pay, like just that belief in myself that oh, I could really do this. That's not crazy. Okay, I could do that.
So, what is Lois there to help you with along the way if you do need help?
Every single week we have sometimes she'll have a different mastermind where like she'll have a credit coach come in or someone who could help us get funding. So it's almost like a preceptor for business because I don't know business. And
Mhm.
I actually started this probably maybe about 6 months ago. But then it was 2 months into it before I actually started posting about it. You know what I'm saying? Or just content creation ideas, how to capture people's attention, how to keep their attention. I'm hosting webinars now.
What?
Yeah, so every single month I do a live military and nursing Q&A session. And I have a PowerPoint, I do a little presentation, and then at the end I offer them questions and answers so you can ask me questions. Then they have access to my Facebook group, Army Nurse Tribe, where we provide support along their military and nursing journey because it's very unique. Not many people are doing both. But I was fortunate that when I was in the military, my leadership, they pretty much mentored me. Like my platoon leader, he was great. Like I could call him right now. And at first, I was a little bit weird about posting about the military, but my leaders are like, Cobb, I love what you're doing. This is what we need. And it's to think that I was almost like embarrassed or, oh, I shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? But to get that feedback, you're doing a good job. This is what the people need. Imagine if I would have just kept that to myself because I'm afraid or that I'm scared. So what the mentorship has done is gave me the confidence to be the person who can have the things. And she also has one of her other mentors, Damon, comes on and he talks about mindset every single Monday night. And it's powerful. And it's not so much of like them telling you what you should do. It's just like after hearing it, it's like I know how to take it and make it relate to what I'm doing. And just getting aligned with my purpose. But I'm excited to see my growth in the last 6 months till now. I can't wait to see where I am in another 6 months.
So the people that are signing up for your program, are they typically people who are not even nurses yet and want to get into the military so that the military could pay for their nursing degree?
Yes. Some of them are strictly non-military at all. They're just interested. So that's why I give like the background. Okay, this is how you join. This is what you need to know. And then if you're specifically interested in becoming a nurse officer in the military, like that's, I can give you the specifics on that too. Or even if you're in the military now and you don't know how to switch over to nursing, I can show you how to do that as well. Because if you're in a unit, like let's say I'm a cook in the military, right? And I want to be a nurse, but I don't know how to do it. The people around me are cooks too. So who can I talk to? So that's pretty much what it is just sharing the knowledge. Like so the reason why I even found out about it is because my commander, well, he was my old commander. He had deployed and he came back and I saw him at a PHA event. And he was like, Cobb, how's nursing school? I'm like, sir, I've been at nursing school for a year now. And once again, why don't you direct commission? And I said, sir, I'm tired of people telling me about this process, but I don't know what it is. So he was like, you know what? I had just deployed with this soldier. She just direct commissioned. So he gave me her number. I took her number. She gave me her recruiter. Now her recruiter was deployed, but then he gave me the other recruiter and then I started the process. So it's just as simple of knowing who to talk to and knowing how to get in contact with the right people. And so that's the whole purpose of my community and like the webinars, because I believe I don't care if you join the military or not. Like I'm not a recruiter. I'm not saying, hey, join. But what I am saying is that if you want to join, here's the best way to do it. Because some people have really bad experience of the military, but some of it was your own lack of knowledge. Like you didn't know how to get help. And it's not that it's advertised. Maybe it's a little bit better, but there's no list saying, hey, here's what you need, or these are your benefits if you do this, or you like there is not that. So all I'm saying is that if you do join the military, here's what you need to do, and here's the benefits that you should have before you get out. One of my brothers, he didn't even finish his term in the military. He actually went AWOL. And so he had some mental health issues going on. And he just got out and stopped showing up. But had he would have stayed and seek the help, he could have got compensated for that. You know what I'm saying? Now, I only know this now because once I commissioned as to a nurse officer, I learned a lot more about the medical side. So, like, I have these soldiers who sit down with me and they tell me about what they have going on. And I'm like, you're higher ranking than me and you don't even know.
So you mentioned direct commission. What does that mean?
So direct commissioning is pretty much a process where clinicians can join the military. So we need doctors, lawyers, dentists, anesthesiologists. So pretty much even like psychologists. So like
Mhm.
anyone with the clinician degree can go through a process called direct commission and become in the military as an officer. They don't have to go to basic training. They don't have to go to AIT, none of that. So
Wow.
essentially, that's the process that I went through. But let's say for you, if you have a bachelor's degree and you have taken it past your NCLEX, you can direct commission directly into the military as a nurse. You don't have to go to
Wow.
basic training, AIT, nothing. And so, like,
Wow.
doctors can do it, chaplains can do it, dentists can do it. And like a lot of doctors and dentists, they're paying them a lot of money. I'm talking about $200,000 sign on bonuses because we
What?
need them in the army. Yeah. When we go to PHAs, which is our periodic health assessments where soldiers get their annual checkups, we have
Mm.
dentists there. So
Wow.
if you're a soldier who needs a tooth pulled, we have dentists who pull them on site. So we need them in the military. So if you a dentist, you want your student loans paid for, join the military for 6 years. You'll get
That is
sign on
so cool.
bonus, you just pulling teeth.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Man, this is why I love interviewing all of you. It's like every time I have someone on this show, it's like I'm learning something I never knew about.
Mhm.
And this is a topic that since I started this podcast, because I have several other types of videos that I make, but I have this podcast, I've gotten since maybe like the second episode, I've been getting requests from people to interview someone who's in the military or in the army. And finally, oh my gosh, thank you
Well,
so
I'm
much
glad I could
for
be here.
volunteering. You don't realize how important it is to have you on this show because just like you said, you wish that this information was available to you back then, and it wasn't. So the fact that you're doing this for other people is extremely powerful, and you're going to be changing a lot of lives because if I would have known this a long time ago, I probably would have gone your route too. Because that would have saved me so much money. So, how can my viewers reach out to you if they're interested in your program or they're interested in even speaking with you?
So I actually do have a YouTube channel as well. So you
Okay.
can follow me on YouTube. I have a few videos on there, the Army
Mhm.
RN, and then my Instagram, my Facebook page, everything is the Army RN. So on all social media sites, you can find me at the Army RN. And I actually have a free ebook where I'm giving resources. For example, questions to ask recruiters, what to pack for basic training, just like some basic military knowledge that you want to know before you get started. And there's a link for that in my Instagram bio. And then I'm coming out with the course at the end of the month, Army Nurse Academy. And so that is just like a sit down, like this step by step, going through the different branches, the different components. Like it's very detailed of the basic Army stuff that you need to know before you get started. Just because it'll help you excel a little bit better. So you're not as confused because as a civilian off the street, you don't know the acronyms. You may not
Yeah.
know the difference between the branches or the components. So it just helps you be more confident because when you come in as an officer, they don't know that you just got in. Sometimes they do, but like you may come in as a second lieutenant or a first lieutenant, right? A private just sees you as a lieutenant. They don't know you new to the Army. So by having that background knowledge, it makes you a better officer. Now, I was fortunate because I was already prior service. So I already got that. So if you're a civilian coming into the Army, you don't get that. There is some training, but there's still some gaps. You know what I'm saying? So it just helps fill those gaps. So you can find me on all social media sites the Army RN.
If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel and watch this video here where I speak with a flight nurse who works 48 to 72 hours per week and has so many side hustles you won't be able to wrap your mind around it.